Greetings, fellow songwriters and seekers, and welcome back to Muse Measure. If you haven't done so yet, hit the guy on the lotus pedal and benefit from incredible questions from fellow songwriters who are dealing with probably a lot of the same issues that you are and I am. I definitely relate to most of these. And it's good for us to discuss them. And I don't want this just to be a one-sided conversation. Please put your comments and questions down below so we can have more of a dialogue. Okay, so this is from Boulder, Colorado. I used to live in Boulder way back when. I lived there for about 9 years. Love Boulder. I didn't always love it. I had Chief Niwot's curse for a while where I was doomed to return again and again. And now I'm happy to return. I like it there. All right, so Jeremy Holt says, I often start writing lyrics with a clear idea of what I want to say. But by the time the song is finished, it seems to be about something completely different. Is that a sign that I lost control of the song, or that the song discovered its real meaning? Wow, Jeremy, that's a really, really good question, and one that is really, depends on the song, obviously. So what I would say is that, if it becomes something else, and this happens to me all the time, and so much so that I often don't have a clear idea, or I kind of abandon that hope of having a clear idea before I write a song. Sometimes I have an idea, like a concept for a song, and I'll try to write from that. But most of the time, I just maybe have a little idea, maybe a poetic idea or a hook idea, and then the other lines are forming around that. So yeah, so if you have a clear idea, like the hook is going to be, no matter how I struggle and strive, I never get out of this world alive, and then the rest of your lines are about mortgages and how frustrated you are about underwriters, then I'd say you've lost the song and you probably should go back and rewrite the lyrics. But if your idea is that you're just going to write about how lonely you felt during your breakup, and then the song slowly morphs into a song about spirituality and hope, then that's totally fine. It just is, the old adage, the proof is in the pudding. So does the song work in the end? Are you happy with the results, even though it is different than the initial intention? Because we often intend to do all kinds of things, and songs are like children in that way. They have their own nature, and you can help guide them and nourish them and give them the time and attention that's necessary. And oftentimes you want to shape their path. Sometimes that's called for. Other times you're really impeding them by shaping their path. So it is really kind of a tight wire act in that way, that you have to really, be mindful about that. That am I being too controlling of the song and the lyrics, or am I not being controlling enough? I'm letting it go wild and acting like a toddler having a tantrum in a restaurant. So if that's the case, you have this wild thing that just doesn't make any sense and it's not satisfying to listen to. The lyrics are just like, what the hell is this about? Then yeah, it's time to rewrite it and maybe hone it back in. But if it's like, okay, well, it started here. It started to be a song about puppies, and then it ended up being a song about existential dread. That's a pretty interesting song. And if it's interesting for you to listen to, then it's probably interesting for other people to listen to and to contemplate. So it's that, and they say this in meditation, not too tight, not too loose. It's that same thing with being mindful of your writing process. You don't want to stick too close to a form or the dictates of your initial concept so that nothing else can grow. No wildflowers can grow around your property because you are so obsessed with your lawn being absolutely perfect. I can understand if that's what you want, but then you see these wildflowers pop up and they are weeds to you. Well, wildflowers are beautiful, and that may be the kind of wabi-sabi that actually makes it perfect. So go ahead and let it go off on its course and tangent, but you are the guide of it. You are the shepherd of it. So shepherd, or they watch over their flock, but they don't keep them in a tight little pen and don't let them out. They let them wander and kind of guide them, and when they get off path, so where it's dangerous and treacherous, then they guide them back on the path. And that's what you have to do with the creative process. You have to be the sheep and the shepherd at the same time. I don't know how many more metaphors I can throw at you. I apologize for all these. So I hope you're starting to get it. It's just like, there's no clear advice about this, at least in my book. Maybe somebody else has some better advice about this, but I think that that's the key. And, the songs that I've had that I feel like succeeded, they keep to kind of a simpler language and a simpler concept, but they're not too rigidly tied to that, so that they can dance a little bit and they can dream a little bit and have little daydreams and go off. And it's nice kind of in a song that's very rigid about this is my point, especially when you hit like the bridge, that the bridge is like, okay, something completely different, a fresh new perspective. It doesn't have to be about something completely different, but it should just at least be in something new, a new perspective. And that's where you have to let your imagination go and kind of say, okay, let's let the sheep wander for a while and see where this takes us. Okay. Well, best of luck with that. I know it's daunting at times, and it's kind of a little bit, I wouldn't say frightening, but it's a little bit worrisome when you're looking at your song lyrics and like, wow, this is way off from what I initially intended. But that's why it's good to keep drafts of things, So just in case you get off and you're like, okay, I got to get back to where I was 2 weeks ago with this. And then you go back and you go, okay, this is where I went astray. This part's good. Let's cut all that extra nonsense that I just made, and let's get back to the core thing, which I've had to do many, many times. Okay? So that's the process, and that's why songwriting is very, very fulfilling and wonderful and filled with excitement, but it's also can be very frustrating because your mind and your craft and your skill and what you intend can often lead you into weird places, and sometimes they are not the best places for you or your songs. All right, well, I hope that helps, and I hope things are good in Boulder. I will be out there in August, hopefully, and best of luck with your writing and your spiritual practice. I'll see you next time.